guys? Welcome back to the Raw Grass Podcast. We have two awesome people here. Mainly, I want to help people out there be more aware of what's going on. I bet you guys can.
It was like a community and something had happened. I don't remember the picture, police and stuff.
Arrested.
Yes.
And of course, us who are like, oh wow, hey, that's horrible, or oh cool, it's about time that that certain. I'm not sure exactly who it was. I'm not trying to say there's a lot of people who live around here who aren't really doing too much, but that I can't say who because I don't know, but I wanted to sit with them to kind of just to kind of see how they actually are open to certain things. And I've actually lived in the area for a very long time. Yeah, you have as well.
Same thing. I've been here since '88, basically. So yeah.
I just want to go around and kind of say who you are, and we'll just kind of do that.
You want to start?
Oh, go ahead.
All right. I'm Ember Bridwell. I've been out here for many, many years. I've seen the change, the transition from our little town to a big town.
Yeah.
Had a lot of, just seen a lot of things transition over the years. And when we see getting on social media, we see a lot of social media warriors, but no warriors on the outside. And I think that's something that all of us in the community need to be aware of. We all need to be aware. If there's something that we need to come together and, to fix as a community, we should do it. But as far as sitting with the keyboard and just saying all kinds of stuff like what was happening that day, we don't know what happened with the woman. We don't really know the story either that was going on that day. And everyone was kind of just at each other's throats, and it just seems like the more the computers there, the less we become people or real. And I think that's the biggest thing for me, and that's why I was here today, is because I'd rather be standing in Menifee and talking to the residents of Menifee than I want to be arguing on a keyboard with somebody we don't even know if it's a person.
Absolutely. So my name's Jerry. I've only been in the area about 3 years. I've lived in many places, many countries, and my perspective on this whole thing, twofold, right? One, as a real estate agent, I see how many people are moving into the area, and I can see why, right? Knowing where they come from and some of the benefits that we have here, the community. So when I get online, like you said, the keyboard warriors, I see so many people that, and their gripes are legitimate, don't get me wrong. However, it's almost like, I feel like, do you forget how nice it is here, because and my question that day, I don't know if you guys remember, my question was, what are you comparing it to, right? A lot of people were like, oh, this place is going to crap and blah, blah, blah. Nobody else move here, all this kind of stuff. And it used to be so nice here. Now it's all congested with traffic. Again, legitimate gripes. But what are you comparing it to, right? I moved here from San Diego. Again, I was raised in a small town in New Mexico, which is, got big on me. I left during the Marine Corps, came back, didn't recognize the place. I've lived in, Japan, many different places. So when you put some perspective to it, this place is very, very nice, right? If you compare it to Long Beach, obviously the weather's not the greatest compared to that. But if you compare it to many other places, we have great weather here, right? So I kind of want to take that big picture approach and kind of add some perspective, because the biggest thing, if I could take from everywhere that I live, is that is the difference. What you're talking about is we want to demand things, and we want to demand. The same people that complain about change are the ones that are demanding change, but only in their favor. And also, they have all the energy to complain, but none of the energy to contribute, such as what you said. So,
wow, that's huge. I haven't lived a lot of places. I've lived in a lot of homes on different streets, which it sucked, but it's life, and it's kind of something you have to kind of, I guess learn from, right? Because people are like, oh, woe me, well, yeah, you can be upset all you want, right? But at the same time, it's like, are you actually going to stay in it? And I'm not sure if you guys were aware already. I have a speech problem, and that's kind of why I'm on here. I got people, smirk, smile, and they're like, hey, like, you can't talk. I'm like, yeah, sucks. But I can't let that kind of stop me from being in life, right? To actually live a life. And me being around here for a lot of years, yeah, it was, I would say this was all dirt, right? And I'm like, wow, it blew up quick. It hurts me to see, I guess, a lot of people without any hope, right? They're like, oh, there's so much going on, I don't know if I can do this to them. I'm like, all right, but you can actually drive to places, go to parks or jumps or whatever. But yeah, see, it's all being built up. So like with you,
I think I saw when they first broke ground for Stater Brothers, which was the first one on Newport Road, and that was like, to me as a kid, I just remember dirt roads and jumps and like everything, like you said. It took us, we had to go to Vaughn's in Sun City to go to a grocery store. So that was pretty far, but that was all farmland. For us, we rode cows and did, like just the country stuff here. Yeah. And then now it's more transitioning to city stuff. And that's different especially for people who have grown up in farm areas, or as we're saying, these developing areas. It is hard for us to transition because we don't really know what all this is. And we also have to transition, like us with families, we have to transition and afford activities now versus what we didn't have to do then. So it's a little bit different. We built soapbox cars then. We rolled them down mountains, and like those are the things we did as kids. Now we don't see that anymore. I don't think my kids have ever came home and said, I want to build a soapbox car or something. That's the difference in the now to then. Now it's video games and things that we don't. And a lot of parents have to push their kids, or they're doing it early on, like at 2 and 3 for sports. Okay. Because it's not something that we just all go do or hang out and do anymore.
Nobody plays, baseball in the, on the street anymore. You have to join a league, which is great here. Again, another highlight of this area. Yeah. You go to on the weekends to any of these, little leagues all over the place. And I mean, they're great. The parks are great. The involvement is great. I love the parent involvement here. Yeah. Right. My kids grew up in sports, and my wife was always very involved. But you had a lot of places, not to talk down the place, but let's say like Chula Vista, some of the leagues that we were joined, where there would be a lot of parents who their kid would join because the coach was the neighbor. Let him join. I'll take him to practice. I'll do everything, and the parents were just too busy. They weren't here. You see both parents there, family coming. It's great to see. But yes, and that change that you're talking about, I think I think it's everywhere. Yeah. Prices are plummeting every and anywhere. So even somebody that grew up, 30 years ago was a kid in the city, right? In LA. LA is not the same as it was 30 years ago by any means. That's how they all talk about. And how do we know? Because, a lot of them are here, right? So you talk to them all the time. So, but yes, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, change is going to happen. Change isn't always good change, but it's going to happen. So, what can you do about it? If change is going to happen and you want to avoid it being not good change, right? Bad change, stuff that you don't like, then get involved so you can drive the bus a little bit and ensure that change is good change, right? Yeah. And the two biggest mentality shifts that I think need to happen with some of those keyboard warriors is don't think about the change that you want that's going to benefit you. If you can actually step outside of your own shoes and think about the change that's going to benefit the community, sometimes that you might not like that, right? But if you can really look at the kids and really and think about those changes and do something towards that, I mean, you're always going to win, but not in the way that people think. People think a win is I go do one thing, change everything the way that I like it, and then like in the movies, right? Yeah. Rocky Balboa, I won the big battle, I put my hand up. No, the win to me is literally just if you can start up, like, I don't know, if you're into whatever, something's not around here, right? If there's not a league around here that does whatever it is that you like, even just even just meeting a group of people that are involved and starting the conversation into what can we do
Like real people.
Yeah, to what can we do to build this league? That's a win right there. You haven't done anything, you haven't started this league, but you did something, and enough people doing something, right? Is that building there was built brick by brick, just like every other building. The win is being able to contribute a brick.
Wow,
That's the community
I agree
aspect.
100% on that. That was good. That was really good.
Sorry. You have a hard time talking. I have a hard time stopping talking.
I would say, it goes both ways, and it's all like
Perspective.
yeah, all perspective on certain things, on how you see certain things. It is loud. It's raining, and for us, I wanted to sit and have like our main road behind us, because it just kind of shows we're out there, and I got this set up. It's pouring right now, but like if it's raining or there's a lot of people trying to, like if you have a small town, I'll say small-ish town, because we were a small-ish town, and then all of a sudden stuff happened. It's like, hey, it's rain. It's like, oh, you need to have on a jacket, or it's like something to keep warm. And with that, we have to learn how to move around stuff.
Adjust to the new coming now. That's where we're at now. This is the new age of where we're at, and it's going to continue to grow, like you said. It's going to continue to grow. We're not going to see the little towns that we used to be. Now we're going to see the bigger towns, but now we need more people. We need more people to advocate. We need more people to be out here. We need more people to talk to each other. We need more groups for people to, just help one another, whether it was religion or whatever. All of those things, I think more of it is just us coming together as humans. Honestly, human contact is going to be one of our biggest things. Like and being able to transition, because we know there was a lot of older people that were out here in Menifee. Obviously Sun City, it's an elderly community. I can guarantee there's a lot of people that don't even know that they are all even over there. It's like
so true. Absolutely.
And they're right in the middle. And they're right in the middle, and all those people probably have a million stories for this community to tell. But in growth, we need to remember all these people. The keyboard warriors are yelling at people, not saying, not really bringing anything to awareness. And here we are, like we do have a beautiful growing community. And it's going to take us a little while, everybody, to adjust to new, and change is absolutely wonderful. And if we can keep going with the change in a right way, we'll be good. But I know this subject's kind of hot on people, but defunding police has been one of the topics that were brought up. I mean, do we really want to have no police? Is that our goal? No, we don't want. I personally, I can't say that for anybody else, but I personally would want, if I have something happen, I want to hit 911 and have someone be able to respond to my house, especially as we have these laws changing really, really fast. We really don't know what's legal and what's not. So at some point you might come in contact with a situation that we don't want to be in, or life-threatening, and at that point, that's what we have our police for. That's not for us to just want to just pull it out and that we don't need these people. It all seems really bizarre, some of the topics that have been coming up now in life. So, and especially now being we are a real community, how it impacts us is going to be a big difference, especially if we grow and shrink our police department, or there's big things that need to happen for all of us, and we all really need to pay attention.
Absolutely, and I think, the clear answer in every situation, in my opinion, the answer to everything is education, always education. But how do you implement it? Well, when it comes to the police, police officers need more education. They need more training. You can't do that if you take funds away. But also, we need education, right? There's so many misconceptions, and you see it on the internet all the time. Some guy that saw a TikTok video, right? TikTok's ruined our youth, by the way. But saw some TikTok video of some guy that stepped up to a police officer and said, "I know my rights," blah blah blah. They don't even show the whole video, but they just make it seem like this guy just won, and then he went and got a lawsuit, got a bunch of money, and that cop got fired. They villainized the cop in that situation, and all these people are looking at these YouTube videos and TikTok videos, and that's what's in their head. So any interaction they have with police is very different than, say, when we were growing up.
Yeah,
A police officer was an authority figure.
Yeah.
And the a-hole cops, you always knew who they were, but they were anomalies. The
Yeah.
grand majority of them were helpful, and you treat them with respect. And if you didn't, then you saw the a-hole side of them, and you didn't want to do that, but they also didn't want to do that. That's not how it worked. Nowadays, California is a very litigious state. It just has been.
Ooh, yeah.
You know,
it's strict.
Yes.
It's strict. So yeah.
Yeah, I always, part of my plan, was, military after my 20 years. Maybe I'll go into law enforcement, but the longer I lived here in California, the more I realized I would not do it in California. Just because of people's attitude towards police officers, even, 10, 15 years ago. Nowadays, it's widespread across the nation. But even back then, a CHP officer pulls you over, and why'd you pull me over? I wasn't even going that fast, blah, blah, blah. Again, I was raised in New Mexico. A state cop pulls you over in New Mexico, you better, sir, you better this and that. He's going to give you an earful, more old school stuff. And I'm not saying it's right, but that's what you see.
That's when you just hit that topic. I think that's where a lot of us are lacking anymore, is respect towards one another, respect towards people,
Absolutely.
and manners towards our elderly or our officers, or the people of service,
Yes.
like yourself.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Yes, and again, I'm a speak on both sides type of thing, right? I say we shouldn't defund the police, right? Because they need more training, we need more education, blah blah blah. We need to have respect for each other, but also I understand where the gripe is coming from. There has been, before there was video cameras on every single phone, I'm sure there was plenty of police officers in many places overstepping their authority and abusing the citizens.
Yeah.
That's very true. We're tired of it, and that's why people are up in arms about it. And I agree. Those guys need to definitely, that badge does not give you, all encompassing power. But also, there has been a lot of, I think part of the problem is there's been a lot of almost militarization of police forces.
Okay.
That I agree. Like, why does, when the police gets more funding, what do? They go buy an armored vehicle and buy, whatever, brand new assault weapons for the entire force and more guns. And they should have that, but it needs to match what the requirement is, not just because it's a cool thing. And again, me being that type of alpha male type guy who likes guns and all that kind of stuff, I can see the coolness about it. And if I was a cop, I'd probably, when the money came, I'd probably vote for, let's get cool new guns, right? Because you kind of get, you kind of get in the moment, and that's what you consider cool and what you like. But when you take a step back and look at the big picture, hey, how about some more training, right? More hours of training. Instead of all these cops that make a bunch of money because they're always putting in overtime, let's put in some money into, recruiting more people to the force so that they're not all having to work overtime. More training, more education for these guys, whatever. In any successful unit in the military, I know for sure, it's all in the training, right? They're not just badasses because they are. No, it's the training. Before you go overseas, you spend months training up your unit to a cohesive unit that's well trained. I was in aviation maintenance, and in a unit like that, you have to put the wrench down for a few hours a week at least and do some training, right? Brush up on safety measures and all that kind of stuff. So, police force should be no different. It takes money to do that. So just put the money in the right place instead of the more armored vehicles and more. You don't need that in a city, you know.
Yeah, and I would say it makes sense because when I was small and I was still growing up, I was around a lot of drugs, right? So I would see a lot of cops, blue and red were like, who are they? No. And I would say at first, all because of who I was around, I'm like, they are bad. Why? Like either mom, whoever would get locked up. And I'm like, no, I hate them. Okay, cool. Why? I had to kind of come back now and see. I'm like, oh, of course there are certain people who have to do things to, live. Cool, awesome. I'm not saying do that, but if you have to live, you are gonna do what you got to do. But me seeing that, I'm like, okay, they're bad. I don't like cops, hence why, I don't want certain people around, like as in law enforcement. all this kind of stuff. All they are there to actually do is to, I would say, to actually make sure we are safe.
Right.
Simple as that. Of course, how you were saying, there are some cops who are like, oh, you aren't gonna do that. I'm gonna use a lot of force, right? Which, in some cases it is needed, but not up to the point where you got a knee on somebody's neck. Which, hey, you have two main veins right here, and it's like, oh, shit, that's a blood choke. Oh, he's dead. Oh, and then it's just a whole thing. So with that, to actually know a lot of law enforcement, either if you're a cop, if you work, certain places, if you're a Marine, Army, all that kind of stuff, it's awesome because, if we were home or out and about and something went down, somebody like at a mall just started shooting, or up at a school, which we won't hop into it because that just hurts my heart, and it's okay. Anyways, I would say go over to them and talk to law enforcement. Hey, how's it going? Because there's a lot of people who won't go up to a cop because they're like, oh, you might look a certain way, and they're like, oh, yeah, who are you? Like for me, oh, it's bad. I'm like, hey, hi, and they're like, are you drunk? Are you on drug? Or whatever. And I'm like, no. But of course, at first, we all have to kind of look at somebody like, oh, he's looking,
Well, and that's literally their job, right?
Yeah.
It's not our part to judge and look at people, but we're all, even us, we're going to be aware, right? If somebody walks up looking a little bit sketchy, I'm paying attention because they might take your equipment. They might, they might. I'm not saying they will, and I can't go out of my way and say, hey, you're clearly on drugs. And no, that's too far. But I am going to be cautious of it. That's just the type of person that I am, and everybody will. Especially if you grew up in a situation where you needed to develop that skill, you have a heightened sense of awareness. Cops is literally their job. That's what they're getting paid to do every minute they're in uniform. But
everyone says profiling, and like that's how they keep wording it in the media. It's profiling, but
Black, Hispanic, I think, right?
Yes.
Hispanic, and whitish or white, just white, just white. So it's like, oh, they're a certain race, so they aren't allowed into a store without being looked at. Oh, either you had a sweater or they got something on to kind of hide it in. Okay, it's of course you should kind of like see what's going on because it's being aware.
It's funny. Prior to the pandemic, could you picture anybody walking into, say, a bank with a hat on, sunglasses, and a mask? No. Right away, we're like, hey, what are you doing, right? Yeah. But now we were forced to accept, so now we accept it. Now we no longer see that as a threat, right? Yeah. It quickly changed our own perspective, but it took something that massive to change our perspective on that one thing, right? Yeah. Now picture that on every other thing that cops see every day, right? If 9 out of 10 guys that they see looking and dressed in a certain way are trouble, then that 10th one that's not trouble, but he dresses like it, it's kind of hard for them not to say, hey man, hey buddy, what are you doing, And now, again, I'm not saying they should go over there, grab him, take him down. No, but they should investigate. That's just hey, what are you doing? Now, if that guy knows his rights, he says, I don't want to answer any questions, I'm good, thank you. Obviously, that citizen is educated. He's obviously not confrontational. If you're high and stuff, you're going to act a certain way. If you're drunk, so obviously that guy's bone sober, and he tells the cop, hey, please keep your distance. I choose not to answer any questions. I'm just going to keep going on my way. Yeah. Okay, obviously the guy knows what he's doing. The cop will simply, and that's not like, oh, he won against the cop. It's not a win. It's the cop investigated. Obviously this guy's good at tight. The cop's going to step back and look at him. And we keep forgetting police, right? It's an adjective, but it's also a verb, right? To police. So if you ever have a question of like, what is police's role? Their job is to police, right? Yeah. And there was a thing that I saw that I read that was talking about the clear marker of whether we're a society that can police ourselves, right? So let's get rid of is shopping carts, right? If you're the type of person, and I'll tell you right now, I'm the type of person that 50% of the time, probably, I'm just gonna look around and shoot. And my justification to myself, which is just me justifying it to myself, it's not right. But I say, oh, they don't have a cart near me. That's the store's fault. They're obviously, it's more important to them to pay somebody to come pick them up. So I'm just gonna leave it right here, right? That doesn't make it right. That's just how I justify it to myself so I can sleep at night. But that's a clear, that's a clear indicator of whether we can police ourselves or not. And go to any store. Some people are. My wife, it drives me nuts. No matter what she's doing, she'll stop, walk all the way over. She'll pick up trash, all the stuff that we want to teach our kids. She's a great model for it.
Yeah.
I'm not. You know what I mean? I'm like, hey, they pay somebody to pick up trash around here. I didn't drop it, so I'm gonna go about my merry way. Again, that doesn't make it right. But and so, are we a society that can police ourselves? No, we're not. And I think the biggest thing, if one point that I can make is, look at those Facebook posts, and I guarantee you that the grand majority of the time, that person that's on there, that keyboard warrior saying, these teenagers are going around and they're causing trouble, because whatever. Like my neighborhood has these teenagers that, those electric bikes that they sell now, those are pretty powerful. You can do wheelies on those things. And these guys love to ride around. And I mean, they're kids, they're bored kids. We were playing baseball, hitting windows out, you know what I mean? So these guys, they're doing something. Yes, is it a little like, yes, if they go down, they're gonna not just hurt themselves, but their thing's probably gonna hit my car. So I can see why people are like up at arms about it. But also, if you're the mother of that kid and you know that kid, right, now all of a sudden it becomes, they're just kids out playing. Why are you guys attacking them? So perspective becomes such an important an issue when you only see the world from your perspective. You're never going to be happy, and you're going to feel like the whole world is against you, and this city is ridiculous, and this state is ridiculous, and oh my God, the president. Those types of people, all they look at is the negativity that affects them negatively, and they don't see the why. Always get down to the root cause. Okay, why? Right? To me, I try to stay balanced because there's pros and cons to everything. I'm not Republican. I'm not Democrat. I can see the pros and cons to both sides.
No,
no. But that's like, I don't know. Case in point, I like it here compared to San Diego that it is a little bit more of a conservative, community compared to San Diego. It's a little bit more old school, a little bit more. Some of those values that we talk about. I'm not saying they're more prevalent here, but the old school way of displaying them are more prevalent here compared to places that like San Diego, LA. But then also, like, some of my friends are like, oh my God, come up here. And, there's the guy selling Trump flags at every corner. Like, oh well, the people, a lot of people like Trump over here compared to San Diego. Who cares, right? That's not a negative. Does it aesthetically look bad when you do that? Yeah, to somebody that doesn't live here and doesn't understand the positives of that type of more conservative community. Yeah, they see it as like, oh my God, I'm not going over there.
I feel like a lot of this just became more the Biden and Trump versus the reality of what the regulations and the things that were happening. Absolutely. So yeah, and that was the biggest thing that kind of this last 4 years of whatever happened. Yeah. It was like we lost the whole point of what we really even have elections for, what we even have politics for. Like, this is not what we have it for. It wasn't for the charade that we had. Trump was a famous, he's a movie star or whatever. And then you have Biden, who's been there for a long, long time. Like, either way they did it, they plotted it against each other. And then they have all of us out here like, well, all of these guys in here keyboard warring each other. And then not a lot of people doing anything until when it came down to it, we had like the parades that started coming and stuff. But that didn't help anything.
Correct.
There was still no action behind that.
Correct.
Because they weren't, everybody who has their flag, Biden or Trump, the regulations behind the flags, whatever that is, whatever you believe in, is what you should be looking at. Not these two goofballs on the front. Not to say that they're goofballs, but I'm saying, I'm just saying that's the way it just comes across. It's like we just totally lost it. We don't even see. We're fighting over disinformation when we can't even see what the real regulation is anymore.
Yes.
So,
people develop opinions based off, again, a TikTok they saw, and again. I'll say it a million times probably, education is key, right? If you actually take the time, and I know it's grueling and it's a task to actually do the research and get educated on what their policies are and so on and so forth, you're going to see that, one, they're not that different. Two, in what they are different, again, pros and cons. I can never, when I've actually sat down and looked deep into it, I get to a point where I'm like, I don't know which one's better.
Yeah.
I just know that there's some stuff over here that I really want to see happen, and there's some stuff over here that I really want to see happen. I can't have my cake and eat it. I got to pick one and hope that they actually do some of the stuff that they say they're going to do, because even when you pick a side, the chance of them getting it done are very slim.
I almost feel like the next time for myself too was like, instead of all of us voting on separate sides of each other, why don't we all just stand and say we vote for ourselves anymore? You know, like we vote for our people. That's it. Because regardless of which side it's going to go on, they're going in directions that we might not all like for ourselves as humans on this planet, should I say. Yeah. So, and that's going to be a big difference from people just wanting to do this keyboard warrior stuff and actually educating themselves to understand where we're headed and what we're doing. And like you said, both of them are so similar, it's ridiculous.
Yes.
It's literally, it's almost like wording's different.
Yes, I mean, if you look at the history of you know, what Democrats and Republicans, you know, stand for, and what they used to stand for, you know, 30 years ago, it's completely flip-flopped, right? Yep. I mean, freedom of speech, right? Democrats are all about freedom of speech. That was like one of the biggest pillars of the Republican Party, you know, 30, 35 years ago. That's what they, you know, so I don't know, it's just funny, and we could spend a whole bunch of hours on that, but yeah, at the end of the day, you know, it becomes it's almost like watching wrestling. You know, you pick who you think is a villain and who you think is the good guy, and then once you put that's what internet does, right? Yeah. Once you put an opinion out there, once you tweet about it, you never want to change your opinion because somebody's going to call you out on it.
Yeah, and then what's worse now too is that's what I've noticed too. It's people who, regardless whether like what side you were on, if you started to change your mind about where you were at, they're afraid to even say it. Yeah. They're afraid to even speak about it, and nobody wants to talk about politics because everybody gets heated, but they're not heated about the right subjects. Yes. They're not heated about what's happening. They're heated because of the person or the narrative behind whatever just happened.
Correct.
And that's what our media is showing us too. Our kids, and I mean, we're kind of just being driven towards something. So with you bringing us out here, I feel like that's really important because this is human contact, and the rest of, we want our kids to have it. We want our kids' kids to have that. We don't want this to stop, you know, because that's kind of where we're going. There's no more interaction. People don't even know how to talk to each other anymore.
It's like, hey, how's it going? I don't know what to say. I'm like, okay, I would say, shit, that's a nice truck. Oh, that was a Jeep right there. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, that was loud. That was sick. But yeah, so like actually online, you know, of course, I spoke to you. I actually also went on the same exact post. I was like, hey, if you guys want to sit down and talk about it on a podcast, let's do it. Two. It's like, I don't have time.
Out of like 130 angry people.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
I'm on there too, so.
Well, they have opinions, but they want the safety of being able to measure their words before they click send, right? Because a lot of people can't speak like this without one being so self-conscious about what they say, right? I speak, and because I can accept that I could misspeak, I could be wrong, I change my mind all the time. and that started from the people that I look up to, that like my best mentors and the most intelligent people that I know change their mind often about many things. As more information comes in, you readjust your perspective. If you get stuck on whatever, and then now more information comes in and you just bounce it off of you, you're an idiot. By definition, you are a fool. So I don't mind.
Easy on the people out there. Easy on them. Actually, I don't care. This is raw, right? This is raw.
Yeah. So I don't mind, you know, saying something wrong or looking dumb in front of a camera at some point. Like I don't mind any of that. But all those people, you know, that are this and that, and they want to press send, and most of those people won't read what anybody else is saying, which is the worst part. Everybody's giving opinions, but nobody's listening and taking in opinions. Doesn't matter how wrong it is. It's still important to read, and I hate those posts. I hate a bunch of people complaining.
Well, you said hate. That's a strong word.
Hate. Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's very disappointing and dishonoring. Like I just feel like we have so much hate.
Yes.
That's it. There's not like you. There's just no. There's no more. Your opinion is not mattering anymore because their opinion, like you said, is mattering so much. Like what they want versus what what can be happening, you know?
Yes. Well, like I said, I hate those, but I have to go read them so I can get, and I know I take it with a grain of salt, right? It's almost like applying a filter. Okay, whatever I'm reading here is not reality. This is a certain type of people that typically respond to a certain type of post with a certain type of negativity to it. Once I apply that filter, then you can read between the lines a little bit and kind of gauge the you know, perspective of people and how they're feeling. Because at the end of the day, how they're feeling and how it comes out is two different things, but you can still gauge how they're feeling. Even though they might not be able to express themselves well, like most of us are not very successful at expressing ourselves correctly, but you can still read through that and kind of understand, like, okay, people are frustrated, and that's, you know, we're sitting here talking, you know, a lot more, we're being a lot more civil, we're being a lot more positive, a lot more hopeful, but you can still sense that, you know, you're frustrated, we're all frustrated about something, and we can speak about it without attacking each other, you know.
Well, I would say I'm upset because rent's so high, you know. And then, no, I'm kidding. So,
no, well, it's true. Yeah, I get on a lot of those.
So you're in a state, yeah. So C21, what's up? No, I'm kidding. Look at the director, like he's in the game. No, I'm not. I was kidding. Go ahead.
Case in point, my second most entertaining post that I see is on the Facebook Market when somebody puts up something for rent. Right? Somebody's like, I have a little room, and the room is literally the size of this table, right? It's got its own bathroom, and it has a microwave and a mini fridge, and I'm renting it for $1,100. And of course, everybody goes in there, oh my God, that's my mortgage, blah, 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 blah. But what you don't understand is the market will dictate. Right? You complaining on Facebook is not going to make that person go, oh my God, they're attacking me, let me change my price. Anybody that's invested in real estate and knows what they have, they know what they have. And if they don't and they overprice it, right, nobody's going to pay $1,100 for a room this big. But the market is going to dictate. If there's no bite, he's going to have to lower his price, and the market will always win. But I know, because my wife and I have a couple of rentals. Every time I put it up there, and I always try to provide quality housing, and whatever the going rate is, I always go a little bit lower, because I would rather have 40 applications to choose from and pick the best tenants than go at the higher price range and only get 3 applications. And it's a gamble. This guy might just be desperate and not necessarily the best tenant. So I know that I always price it below market value. I know how to get the market value. I actually know how to look up market value. It's not just opinion like most people on Facebook.
That's what people should be looking at.
And even when I do it, and when I do it, I promise you, for every one negative comment about how expensive it is and how ridiculous, and oh my God, it doesn't even have this, for every one of those negative comments, I get at least 2 of the, you know, the little tab that, hey, is this still available? My inbox is packed. So if there's 50 people complaining, I have 100 messages. You know, so it doesn't matter. You're not going to win that battle. Now, you want to do something about it. If you really think that rent is so high, then do something about it, right? That's going to happen through regulation. That's going to happen through investing. That's going to happen. But when you do that, once you get to investing, now you have a dilemma, right? Because if you worked your butt off for many years, saved money, and bought property, now you're in a situation where, like, okay, now you have 3 people here to worry about, or the entire community. Who is your ultimate, dedication and commitment to? Is it to my wife and kids, right? My 3 kids going to college, and my wife, and us being able to retire and enjoy the fact that I've deployed, I've worked. I mean, she's had to carry the load, and
you guys gotta come talk to me.
No, but that's what I'm saying. If I own property and I feel so passionate about rent being too high, now I'm in a dilemma. Okay, I can turn this into this quadplex. I can turn into an 8-unit, lower the rent, so it just barely makes my mortgage. I'm helping the community. I feel great about myself. Oh my God, you know, I have a halo above, but nobody appreciates that. Meanwhile, the people that actually appreciate me and love me over here, they're not benefiting at all. They've had, you know, my wife's been, you know, there for me, so I can do what I can, what I've been doing for so many years, and she doesn't stand to benefit at all from carrying the load, and again, being mom and dad while I'm deployed and all that stuff. That almost doesn't seem fair at that point, right? Yeah. So now that person that you know, let's say me 10 years ago going, oh, rent's too high. Now I'm in a situation where I can do something about it, but now I won't. Why? Because no, I'm going to go to market rate, make a little bit of money, invest it, save up for my kids' college fund, make sure that my wife can have something nice and we can retire at an early age and enjoy each other's company. You know, so and most of those people that are complaining about the rent, you know, are unfortunately, they're renters who don't have a grasp about what the market value is, and they really can't do anything about it.
Do you want a jacket?
Oh, I'm okay. I have.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I have mine in the car. It's okay.
Yeah, so
I was
that's the second most entertaining type of post for me on Facebook, you know, and it's the same thing when somebody, doesn't matter what kind of car you drive. If you drive a $20,000 car and you post it on Facebook for $15,000, you're gonna get a bunch of people telling you that that it's overpriced and that their cousin Billy in Alabama selling it for $11,000.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And yeah, like with all that, I got experience in selling cars online and all that kind of stuff. I kind of know. But
Yeah.
you're about to.
Oh, I
hop
was
in
just saying,
something?
as far as I'm sorry.
Oh, it's all good.
On the real estate side and like the renter side, a lot of the stuff that's online still too is all negative. Again, it's there, but as we should always say, it takes a negative to get the positive. And again, something negative brought us together, and that's why we're all sitting here. And with the rental market and all those things, it is hard for some people, because the cost of living is very, very high right now.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are struggling in that side. But like you said, it's about putting yourself in the right position and doing the right things financially to put yourself into the house that you want to get into. And that's my business. That's what I do. Life insurance and investments, and we do more like mortgages and everything. But
And why don't most people do that? Why don't most people have proper insurance and
most
invest?
people don't know. They're not educated. They're not.
Hold on. So like with that, you have to apply it.
Yes.
Because people are like, oh, I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. I'm like, okay. Is it being applied like how you were saying here or wherever you have to go out there and do certain things. If at first it doesn't, you don't make it on point, keep on. Yeah, it's like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't. Okay. Have you actually spoke to somebody who's actually been down the line, who's been on point making money or doing things, and to have them actually sit with you and go over certain things? If you want to jump into homes, if you want to invest into insurance, or all this kind of stuff, invest into like sitting with people on YouTube or Spotify, all this kind of stuff. Okay, cool. I won't say I love it being on camera speaking in front of people, because if you do have a speech problem or you look a certain way, I've had to jump over hoops. I've had to, I guess, grow and adapt. Of course, I got people saying, "Oh, this fool can't talk." I'm here. I don't know about you. And like again, I'm not one to be like, "Oh, I'm better than you." I'm not by any means. Right? But like with that, I would say you have to invest into something. I was just told, hey, work hard, save up, go to school, and you'll be set. And I'm like, bro, I'm broke as hell.
That's because our generation was not taught what we were supposed to do with a 401k or with our Roth IRA. A lot of people in their 50s and 60s right now, their 401k plans are like drained. They don't even have money to even live on, which is where, like, for an average 19-year-old right now, though, if they were to invest into an IRA now, they'll be a millionaire by the time they're 30, 35.
Yeah.
So there's certain things that we were not taught. That is one thing that's the biggest thing. We were not taught that. I wasn't taught, we put it in a savings account. The savings account gains 1 cent. The bank is not in it for us.
It's money, thanks.
That's the biggest thing. The bank's never been in it for us. So our thing is to be educated, to know how to take those steps to get to what we want or where we need to go. And that's the biggest thing on people who invest into different things. Stocks, they go up and down. Mutual funds have been here for a very, very long time, and they do fluctuate, but they've never gone out of business. So investing into an IRA, a Roth, those type of things are good for people. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck in these things that have like the old.
Well, you can't have all your eggs in one basket, right?
I would say with that and estate, and if you're online doing, or if you're going around asking some people to join things, or if you're awesome, you're like, oh, I got a marker and a pen, I want to sell this for X amount of dollars, you're going to profit. But still, how you're saying.
Well, and again, you're right. Education is the first step, but you have to apply it. But like she said, a lot of people just don't know. They don't have the education. So they don't even have the chance to apply it. And we're talking good people who have discipline, they just don't have the knowledge.
Yeah.
Now, if you were to give a blanket, just everybody, boom, like a download, everybody has the knowledge now. Everybody still wouldn't be successful because the people don't have the
'Cause they don't
discipline.
apply it.
They're like,
Yes, correct.
It's hot
Yes.
water. No, it's actually warm.
Yeah.
You know. But
Yeah, but it does start. It does start with education. Here's one thing that I always tell my son, my eldest, who's about to graduate, college next week. He's going into biotech and stuff, and one thing that I learned a long time ago is people love to talk about what they're passionate about and what they know. So if somebody wants to learn about a podcast, if somebody just that has never done it before was to ask you, hey man, how do I start a podcast? Would it be a chore for you to sit down and tell them what you've learned?
Bro.
No, we love to talk about what we know.
Yeah.
If somebody just asks you about investments, it's no sweat off your back, especially if it's a young person.
Yeah.
We tend to, like, our heart belongs to young people. It's in our DNA. That's how we've survived so many years. We want to give them the tools. So you'd be a fool not to ask somebody who's doing financially well, hey man, how do you do?
Yeah.
But the problem is with our society is that we're in a society where we want instant gratification, right? So nobody wants to hear, oh, little by little, you build it little by. Nobody wants to hear that. Okay, yeah, cool. But how do I become a millionaire by next year?
Yeah.
So instead of listening to somebody who's got years of experience in investments, they'd rather listen to some 17-year-old on TikTok, with a wad of $10,000 saying, oh, this is what you know how easy it is to make $10,000 if you want. If you don't know how easy it is to make $10,000, I don't care if you're 17. Let your mom be sick in the hospital, and the only way she survives is if you come up with $10,000. That 17-year-old will come up with $10,000 tomorrow,
Yep.
next week, somehow, some way. But we don't have that drive, so we want things, but we don't really want them. Meaning, everybody wants a Ferrari, right? If I ask you if you want a Ferrari, you want a Ferrari, we would all say, yeah, I want a Ferrari. But in reality, do I want a Ferrari? No. How do I know that? Because I could be driving a Ferrari right now, right?
Yeah.
In reality, I could. I don't want it that bad. We say we want things, but we don't. So the most beautiful part is a journey, right? And again, education. If I could recommend, financially speaking, if you're in a really bad spot where you're like, trying to catch up, you have bills and living paycheck to paycheck, then Dave Ramsey is probably a good place because he's like like an ambulance. Like, you're in distress, he's gonna come and he's gonna give you steps to get out of that. But you're not going to grow from that, then the next step, even old school's book, The Richest Man in Babylon, teaches to pay yourself first.
Books. Ooh.
Oh, it's great. And
But I do free financial evaluations with people too. So if there's anybody who ever wants to sit down, I do that. Me and my daughter team, we work with people to try and see from like step to step to get them to where they want to go.
Yeah.
But most people probably come to you and say, hey, you're really good at this, do it for me. It never works that way. All she can do is give you some pointers on, but you have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
But I'm here to say it's not that hard. Like, once you're on the other side, it's not that hard. It does take time. A lot of people that, for me, as a real estate agent, I'm retired. I'm 100% disabled. Through the military and everything. So doing real estate is just something that I love to do. It enables me to make my daughters, take her to school if I want to, work my own hours. That's all I wanted.
Nice.
I'm not in this to be one of those guys. I'm a top producer making, $1 million a year. No. Every time that I help a customer and I can actually tell my client like that I believe in real estate and you should buy, it's because I believe it. Because I do believe it. It's, we talk about, putting your money in savings. What you're making the bank money. Mutual funds, do they even keep up with inflation? A lot of times they don't, but it is better than savings.
Well, a lot of the companies that you, when you're going to go into when you go into the IRAs and stuff, actually, a lot of them they're using the mutual funds. You're not buying mutual funds yourself. It's
Right.
the company itself that's doing the fluctuation. So you don't see that, and most of the time, the little bit of loss that you see is already picked back up within a week or so. You're actually looking at more money than you can.
Correct. No, I believe in mutual funds, but that should be, to me, it's a portion of the pie, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely.
Yeah.
a portion of it.
So
I agree on that one.
like, for instance, a 509, right? I was looking about getting a 509 for my daughter, right? That's a college fund. But seeing what I've been able to do through real estate and through properties, if I take that same amount of money that I'm applying towards a 509, with my knowledge, I can apply that through real estate, and in the next 10 years actually make more money.
Yes.
But that's because of the skill that I've developed. For somebody who doesn't know about real estate or whatever, or doesn't have an avenue that they can safely, then they should do a 509, right? Stocks, right? I have some stocks, and it was like my first few years doing it. So I had some high years, and like you said,
Yeah.
and then right now it's like, but I always made sure that what I'm investing is money that I didn't need. That money, I could lose it all tomorrow. It would not change my life one bit. So right now that it's down, hey, I'm still buying a little bit of Google, a little bit of Apple, a little bit of the stuff, just a little bit. I'm not throwing a bunch of money at it like I was during the pandemic when things were crazy.
Yeah.
And my taxes this year were great. The year before that, oh my God, I had to pay so much because I was doing the buying and selling all year because it was crazy, and it was very easy to make money in the stock market. So I made so much money that I have to pay so much in taxes. But
How I was saying, you got smart people who know what they're talking about in their area, right? And like, if you want to go, if you got a broken car and it's a certain brand, I would want my car to go into the person who knows every bolt and nut on that car. I'm here saying that I don't know real estate. I don't know IRA and all that kind of stuff. I just know it takes time for certain things. If you are on point and you have, like, again, something you could sell and make money quick, awesome. But that's a lot of work. You got people, it's work. So
I was going to say too, so like how I work, because the company I work with, we work with a couple different companies, but we can open up IRAs for as low as $25. Now, you cannot do that at a bank. We can't do it in all other places. So when you think about opening something, even at $25 for young, old, whatever, it's the best bet for starting a future for almost every single person. For $25 a month, if that's what you take. Yeah, because that $25 that you put in your savings account, like I said, the zeros just stay.
Yeah.
You're not going to see anything go. You're going to see a little bit of money go. Maybe it might be just a couple $100 by that time, but the longer the investing, the longer you're keeping it, like holding on to it, it's growing. So for any individual right now, people should be really looking at doing something like that. Like it's not okay because there's not going to be money like that, like what we've seen in our lifetime. It's not going to be like that.
yeah, you can't depend on Social Security.
Yeah, it's not going to be.
I've heard it's going down, and I would say, like, for me, it actually I've heard it actually won't even be there for me, and I'm like, I've worked so hard.
If we stay on course where we're going, it's not going to be there. Something has to change.
Yeah.
Do we trust that it's going to? Well, I don't know. I'm an idealist. I am very hopeful. I believe in people. I think we'll figure it out, but it's not guaranteed. I would bet my future on it because I'm a hopeful person and I believe, but I'm not going to bet my family's future on it, right? So to them, I owe to make sure that we're okay, right? So if I want to become a millionaire in the next 5 years, I can't depend on anybody else to do it. I'm doing it, right? I'm on my road. I'm on my way there. Wow. And also the other thing is, I never grown up, in southern New Mexico, living in a mobile home, saying, one day I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to have a net worth of $1 million. Yeah. It was crazy to me, right? But then now that I'm like close to that and I'm actually on track to do it, $1 million is not much. It's not. It's
out
it's
here
really
in California?
Yeah.
No,
it's really not, right? But
that's it. No,
yeah.
I'm kidding.
Yeah. But I mean, if you want to look at investments in a just in a very basic way, right? Yeah. If you look at the historical data since it's been tracked, I don't know, 40. I think it's like 47 years. I think it's been tracked. I think we're averaging something like 13%, right? About return. Right. If you look at the average of those many years, right? If you look at a small pocket of 3 years here or a pocket of 7 years there, that can fluctuate because it goes up and down. But
it's not many of them. They usually it recovers.
Yes.
Always recovers.
Yes. I mean, most of the time, I think it's something like 72% of the time it goes up, and 20-some% of the time it goes down. So if you stay in it long enough, you're going to continue in. But anyways, so doing the math on that, that means that your money's going to double on average every 7 to 9 years or so. Okay. If you continue that kind of growth. So I mean, it's simple, right? Start putting money away for later and leave it. The power of compound interest is amazing. Yeah. If you understand how it works. It's very cheap. It's very cheap for you to have a financial stability in the future. And the most powerful thing you have aside from compound interest is starting early, like she said. But most of us aren't ready in our head in our maturity level to take that. All we care is, I have $100. What can I buy with these $100 today? I just got paid. Woo! I want a Camaro as soon as I can get it. Yeah.
$800 car payment.
Yeah, I want a brand new phone, and I want to whatever my favorite artist on TV is wearing. I got to have that Supreme. Blah blah blah.
Oh, the bling.
We all go through that, especially when you start getting money at an early age. But
shit, look like you got in there. Like a gold watch.
Yeah, that's
shit,
that's not gold. This is 22 karat Arabian gold, but this is more of a I was actually in Bahrain when I bought this, so that's why I always kept this. But yeah, no, I'm not a spendy guy. Matter of fact, in my house, I think I drive the oldest car. Like my sons have better cars than I do. My wife does. Mine's a 2013, Lexus, because that thing is reliable.
Yeah.
That's what I got it cheap.
I do the same thing.
Yeah.
My 2011 Camaro, so I'm driving.
Yeah.
No, but you
Yeah.
out of a Camaro though. No, I'm
Yeah.
no.
You have to live within your means, and if you can do that,
Or try to.
yeah, no, yeah. If you can do that, and if you want to know, like when people say like, oh well, that's easy for you to say because you're making this amount of money. It doesn't matter. Like there's people that are making $250,000 a year and are dead broke every day, right? It's about how much you spend, not how much you make. So let's say you make $40,000 a year, right? So you're like, dude, how am I going to buy real estate? How am I going to invest when I'm making $40,000 a year right now? Okay, cool. If you somehow, for some reason, your job was like, you're working 2 less hours a week, so now you're down to $38,000 a year.
Yeah.
Would that change your life dramatically?